Hello everyone and welcome back to our mini masterclass series. Today we're talking about rose essential oil, and rose is known as the queen of oils. So we've talked about the king of oils being frankincense, and today we're going to be talking about the queen of oils known as rose. And I'm particularly excited to be talking about this one because I've been incorporating this one into my life every day for the past few months. And rose is a relatively new oil for me personally, and whenever I start using a new oil, or I start tapping into a new oil, or a new oil is offered by doTERRA, I just throw myself in, I research the heck out of it, I use it every day. I just want to gather as much information as I can to share with you. So, rose is definitely not a new essential oil in history. It's probably one of the oldest ones. There's like anecdotal evidence suggesting that Cleopatra actually wore rose essential oil the first time she met Mark Antony to attract him. And what I love about rose as well is there's so many references to it across all religions. So there's, in the Sufi tradition, there's anecdotes or literature suggesting that rose was used to kind of transcend divinity. There's notes in history showing that Persian warriors used to engrave rose plants onto their shields of armor. And then if you think about like the Christian tradition and rosary, like have you ever linked that to rose? And apparently the very first rosary was made of rosewood beads, and rosewood is a totally different plant than roses, but emits this beautiful rose smell. So lots of indications in history of people tapping into beautiful plant medicine for their emotional needs, for their physical needs. And I just love it because I feel like we're coming full circle now in our collective human consciousness. People are remembering what we've forgotten in the past only 100 or 200 years, and just how connected we as humans are to the earth, and how the earth offers us such beautiful gifts and medicine and support. So I had a lot of fun researching rose and history, and I'm just a bit of a history buff and a time travel buff, so that kind of fueled me. But there's so many ways that we can use rose today. I would love to talk about all of those different ways. So talking about, a little bit of the science and chemistry behind rose and how that really contributes to our emotional health, our physical health, our spiritual health. The sourcing history of rose and doTERRA and where we are with that and why it's so beautiful as usual. And just how rose can be used in your everyday life. So rose, as I said, is not a new essential oil at all, but it is just one of those oils that is really difficult to source. It's really difficult to extract the oil from the plant. It takes over 280,000 rose petals to make one 5 ml bottle of essential oil. So you can imagine the sustainability issues with that, the affordability issues of that. Until doTERRA released this touch format, or this touch blend, and I'll get to what that means later on, of rose at convention in 2017. They only offered rose very sporadically as the occasional promotion, just simply because it's not affordable. It wasn't affordable or sustainable to offer it any other way. So they've tapped into it in other ways. So if you've ever used the Console Emotional Aromatherapy Blend, if you've ever used Whisper, the female perfume blend, if you've ever used Immortelle, the anti-aging blend, rose is in all three of those blends. And when you understand what rose is doing for our physical health, you can understand why rose is in those blends. So we'll save that for a little bit later as well. But as an aside, know that when you use doTERRA's blends, a question I get a lot is, should I use doTERRA's blends or can I make my own blends? And of course you can make your own blends. I always encourage that because you intuitively know what your body wants. But be assured that if you are using doTERRA blends, they have put so much thought into what goes into those, in the perfect balance of oils put together. And it often takes years to formulate those concoctions. So know that if you're using something like Console for emotional support, or Whisper for female support, or Immortelle for anti-aging support, you can be rest assured that that is going to work for you. Okay, so let's start with the sourcing and philanthropic stuff behind rose, just because that is one of my favorite things to talk about. And as I said, I think it just makes you realize how high vibe these are, and just the beautiful model of business that doTERRA is helping the world shift into. So rose is sourced in Bulgaria, and doTERRA actually sources quite a few flowers now in Bulgaria. So they've moved their whole lavender production to Bulgaria. Melissa, which we'll do a masterclass on soon, is also grown and sourced in Bulgaria. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One, Bulgaria is just a beautiful climate for growing these kind of flowers. And we know that a happy plant is a healthy plant. And the happier the plant is, the more potent it will be for our health as well. And doTERRA recognized the opportunity to really elevate a whole country by moving this sourcing there. Not only do they source there, they opened a beautiful new modern distillery there. So the oil can be distilled from the flowers right on site, which is really important to the quality of your final product. And if you go on www.sourcetoyou.com, you can read all about the distilling process and why exactly that is so important to the final quality and purity of the product. And again, just sets doTERRA apart from every other company. So down in Bulgaria, it's a beautiful country, beautiful environment for growing flowers, but a part of the world that has really been suffering the past couple of centuries. Just long history of war, of poverty. Even today in 2018, a quarter of the population lives below poverty level. And just because of all of those problems, it kind of feeds a vicious cycle of families not being able to support their children, people dying of starvation, people, falling into situations where their children don't have parents and have been sent to orphanages. And it's just a vicious cycle of stuff. So through doTERRA's sourcing model down there, they're co-collaborating with 70 different local farmers to make these beautiful flowers, elevating economy that way. But what they also have going on is a beautiful initiative through the Healing Hands Foundation. And if you're not familiar with the Healing Hands Foundation, that's doTERRA's philanthropic arm, is their charity arm. It often has nothing to do with essential oil. It's just the heart-centered leadership of doTERRA, knowing that we can make a difference in the world. So through Healing Hands, there's a couple of products you can buy through doTERRA. One of them is the Rose Hand Lotion. And, despite rose being such an expensive essential oil, doTERRA purposely chose to use the Rose Hand Lotion as the product that would support Healing Hands. So when you buy the Rose Hand Lotion, or there's a couple of other products now, I believe. There's the Hope Roller, which we won't get to today. But 100% of the profit from selling those products goes directly to Healing Hands, okay? So it was a conscious decision to use the Rose Hand Lotion because rose is so valuable, and they wanted to draw attention and symbolically show what a valuable initiative the Healing Hands Foundation is for the world. So down in Bulgaria, the Healing Hands Foundation supports an amazing organization called the Tea House. And what the Tea House is, it's a place where children who have been kind of funneled into the orphanage system and then aged out. So, you can only stay in there so long. And if you don't get adopted or you don't find a home, you're just kind of aged out of the system and you're dumped on the street and you kind of have to fend for yourself. So for these poor children who are, there's a disproportionate amount of children in the orphanage system in Bulgaria, they can go to the tea house and learn life skills and learn love and learn that they're supported and they don't have to, feed into this vicious cycle. So the tea house is supporting beautiful work down there through the Healing Hands Foundation, through the sale of Rose Hand Lotion. So a really lovely model down there that is honestly changing the life of so many people in Bulgaria. And I just think that's just amazing. Okay. So with that being said, doTERRA decided to package this rose for all of our, you can buy this every day. It's not rationed. It's not safe for promotions, as the Rose Touch Blend. So why have they done that? So anytime you see a doTERRA oil put in a bottle like this with the word touch on it, it means that it's been diluted with fractionated coconut oil. And there's a couple of reasons why this is amazing. So it makes it much more affordable for us to buy because this isn't 100% essential oil. So the rose oil in here is 100% pure rose oil, but because it's being topped up with the coconut oil, it just makes it that much more affordable for us to buy. And we've talked, if you've done any of my classes before, you know that I'm a huge advocate for dilution every time you put essential oil on your skin. I believe that just because it's natural doesn't mean it's safe. Not to say that essential oils aren't safe. I think they're extremely safe, but you're just doing yourself a favor if you use dilution, whether it's in coconut oil or jojoba oil or almond oil or whatever oil you feel called to use that you feel good, that feels good on your skin. And this is going to do three main things. The first thing is that it's going to protect your body against sensitization. So essential oils are really, really potent plant medicines. And again, you put them on your skin directly and your body is like, whoa, like what is this? It might actually react against it just because it's so strong and it doesn't know what it is. And it might not happen the first time, but it might happen after 5 or 10 or even 100 times. So just always protect your body and always just be gentle with it by using dilution. The second reason is that when you dilute a pure essential oil, so we know that an essential oil is an aromatic volatile compound. So aromatic means smelly, volatile means light and floats in the air. So if you put that on your skin and it's a pure essential oil, it's going to evaporate very quickly. That's not necessarily what we want if we want to use it in a physical way. So if I want to put this on my skin to support skin health, diluting it in coconut oil is going to do two things. It is going to slow the absorption through my skin. It's going to trap those aromatic molecules and prevent them from evaporating, which means they're going to stay on my skin longer. It's going to take longer to penetrate through my skin, and my skin just has more time to integrate all the amazing constituents in the oil into my body. The third thing, kind of along that same line of thought, is that if you are using this as a perfume, if you want to either just wear it to smell beautiful, or you're using it to get the aromatic effects in addition to the physical effects, like the topical effects of it, you want to trap that smell as long as possible, because if you just put pure oil on your skin, maybe within even 10 minutes, it's going to be gone. You're not going to be able to smell it anymore. And people often complain about that, thinking that there's something wrong with their oil, but that's actually a really, really good sign of a pure essential oil. But that being said, just again, the coconut oil actually traps those aromatic compounds and prevents them from evaporating. So you're going to smell beautiful longer, you're going to get the aromatic effects longer, and it's just a win-win-win situation, diluting your essential oil. So that's amazing. Why? Another reason why, I have to sneeze. Excuse me. Another amazing reason why it's just so great that we have this in the Touch roller blend, so we don't have to worry about any of that stuff anymore. And then, okay, let's talk about physical health. Like, why is rose so beneficial for physical health? Why has it been used for millennia to support physical health? Let's talk about just how powerful it is and why it's called the Queen of Essential Oils. So, it's not important to know the chemistry behind essential oils. I just, as a scientist, love learning the chemistry because it helps me understand how the oil is working. If someone explains the chemistry to you, it just maybe helps you appreciate the oil, and it's not just someone saying, oh yeah, this works for skin, and you're taking it at their word, right? If you understand how it works, then maybe you believe more that it actually works. Does that make sense? Okay, so there's just a couple of main constituents that I want to talk about. So essential oils have thousands and thousands of constituents in it, but most essential oils will have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 like main ones. So the largest percentage of the oil is made up of those ones. And the two that I wanted to address, I guess, today are eugenol, which is a really, really, really potent antioxidant. It's also found in clove essential oil, and we know that clove essential oil is probably the most antioxidant oil out there. It's found in our On Guard blend. So if you use On Guard for cleaning the air or protecting your immune system against seasonal threats, you know how powerful of an antioxidant it is. Ditto frankincense. So rose has a huge concentration of that. It's going to support antioxidant health. So you can imagine why it's so beneficial for protecting our skin against free radical damage and just damage in general, right? And that is why it's used in our Immortelle blend. Okay. The second one I want to talk about, or there's two I guess I want to talk about together. So one is called methyl eugenol, and that is kind of a local antiseptic. Local antiseptic, which means that it cleans the skin really well, suggesting that rose can be used again for skin health. For if you have minor skin irritations, or you have blemishes or scrapes on your skin, you can use rose for that, along with nerol, which is kind of a really smelly, aromatic antibacterial agent, which will also, protect your skin against if you scrape it or you have some kind of infection going on your skin. So there was a beautiful story told at convention. So Emily Wright, one of the founding members of doTERRA, who's just an amazing person and speaker, if you ever get the chance to see her live, told a story about how her daughter had quite a significant skin injury that led to a very serious infection. And I believe that she supported it with rose essential oil and maybe combined it with tea tree. And it was just remarkable how quickly the infection cleared up and how quickly the skin healed. So you could use this for skin in the context of anti-aging, skin rejuvenation, antioxidant support, but you can also use it like how you use tea tree in supporting those minor scrapes and abrasions and blemishes on your face. So that's the skin piece of it. Any flower oil will actually be really good for skin. I don't know if you knew that. So anything like with a petal, so like geranium, lavender, blue tansy, Roman chamomile, if you think about those flowers with the beautiful delicate petals, those are all going to be really supportive for skin. So if you don't know what to reach for in your essential oil box and you see the flower, know that that's going to support your skin. And interestingly enough, they support best the top layers of skin. The woody essential oils like cedarwood, arbor vitae, sandalwood, those woody ones are going to support the deeper levels of skin. So if you are ever making your own little concoction of a roller bottle for your skin, you might want to throw a flower in there like rose, you might want to throw a wood in there like cedarwood, and of course you can't go wrong with frankincense for skin. So just some ideas for how you can custom blend some skin support for yourself. Okay, so the second main, I guess let's talk about emotions. So rose essential oil is also a beautiful oil for supporting mood and emotions, and that is why we find it in the Console Emotional Aromatherapy line blend. And if you think about what Console is doing for you, it's elevating you out of feelings of grief, out of feelings of despair, out of feelings of depression. It is just a beautifully uplifting, nurturing oil. And there's actually clinical research supporting this. So it's actually really difficult to do clinical studies on aromatherapy because the gold standard of research for anything is the double-blind, placebo-controlled trial, randomized controlled trial. And what that means is that one group of people who've been randomly selected from the population get the gold standard therapy, which in this case would be aromatherapy, and the other group gets a control or a placebo. So you can imagine how difficult that is in aromatherapy because you can't mask aromatherapy, right? People know if they're getting it or if they're not getting it. And it's really difficult to get that control group and understand how that might be biasing results. So I'm really conscious of that when I'm analyzing studies and when I'm reading studies, and this study was actually really well done. And another flag for me about how much thought went into the study and the quality of it is the fact that it was used, that the study population was postpartum women. And a few of the most difficult groups to get ethical approval for conducting studies are pregnant women, children, and like breastfeeding women, just because of the exposure risk. And you never quite, there's always a risk in these studies, right? So the fact that it was done on postpartum women, which is a very difficult population to work with because, you know, there's a lot of hormonal changes going on, a lot of emotional changes going on, and all of a sudden these women, rightfully so, are very conscious about what they're putting on their body, what they're putting in their body, how it might be translated through breast milk to their baby. So long story short, this study was done on postpartum women, and the aromatherapy group, which was treated with a blend of lavender and rose essential oil, reported statistically significant improvements in postpartum depression scores and improvements in just generalized anxiety. So that was amazing. And really good clinical evidence showing that rose essential oil and lavender can really support mood and depression and be a really nice support for emotional discomfort. And then let's talk about spiritually, or do I want to go there yet? Not quite. Okay, there's one more thing I want to talk about, and that's the fact that roses and whisper blend. So if you know whisper blend, it smells absolutely gorgeous. It's called the female blend. I wear it as perfume. It was the very, very, very first doTERRA oil that I bought. It is my secret weapon in life. When I wear it as a perfume and I go somewhere, I always get stopped by someone asking me what I'm wearing because it's so intoxicating. And if you haven't tried it, I really suggest you try it. And I think it's just an amazing oil because rose is so feminine. It is so intoxicating. And in combination with the other stuff in that, like ylang ylang is also an aphrodisiac. It's just a very feminine, beautiful oil. And it makes total sense because if you look at, again, these examples through history, if we look at the Avalonian culture, so I went on an amazing retreat this year to Glastonbury in England, which is kind of home of the ancient quote unquote myth of Avalon and the Knights Templar. And we stayed at this place called Chalice Well, which was magical. And it was just a rose garden, like thousands and thousands and thousands of rose garden. And they say it's the heart of the divine feminine on earth. So rare, very, very, very feminine oil. And if you want to feel, you know, sensual and feminine and beautiful, rose can really take you to that place. Okay. So finally, let's talk about the spiritual support, because as you know, I'm a huge believer in how essential oils hit every level of our being, our physical health, our emotional health, our spiritual health. And you will often read stuff on the internet about rose having the highest vibration of all essential oils. And I think that's a beautiful idea. And you know that I'm into all that stuff. But I have yet to find, I don't want to say evidence, but I've yet to see any kind of study showing me exactly how they measure this frequency. And that's not to say that I don't believe it, but I don't think it's important. Like, I don't want people to reject other oils because they're low frequency or have this idea that rose is going to take them to the special place because it's high frequency. I don't actually think that matters. I think what matters is how you feel when you put it on your body. And that's the most amazing thing about aromatherapy, is that what works for me might not work for you. And what resonates with me might not resonate with you. So if you put rose on your heart and you feel super high vibe, then power to you, go for that. But if you get that sensation with, I don't know, my mind's gone blank, sandalwood, then go for it. Like, misinformation on the internet and perpetuating stuff like that is one of my pet peeves. And I've always struggled with that one about the high frequency vibration thing. So know that rose, just as a plant in general, all plants are beautiful. And I've had this conversation with a good friend in that, just the way I think I mentioned this before, human consciousness is shifting, and we're all in a place where we're elevating. And I think we're just that much more open to how plants can help us and work with us, and just be open to whatever support these essential oils bring you on a spiritual, emotional, physical level. Okay. That being said, if you do follow Daniel McDonald's work, and he wrote that amazing book, Emotional Healing with Essential Oils, you will know that rose is in there. It is known as I think it's the oil of divine connection or divine love. And again, that's a beautiful thing to tap into. Rose, if it takes you to that place of divine love, of self-love, of connection, I can imagine why that is, just because rose throughout history has that symbolic presence, right? So I think that's what I wanted to talk about with rose today. I hope you learned a lot. Just in summary, rose can really help support our skin. It can really help support our mood. It can really help with our feminine sensuality. And it's a beautiful oil to start tapping into every day now that we have it in the amazing Touch Roller bottle. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the next masterclass.